Wake up! Look around you. Our mission is to enlighten you through highlighting the misconceptions of our religion, culture, medicine, and education. Also remember to like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment. You can also follow our IG, political_puff.
Facts about the name Israel. There are many misconceptions about this name, but for now, let's look at the origin, people, the reading, and meaning of the name Israel itself. 4 topics we will cover are: Israel is not a nation. Israel is not a people. The name Israel is mispronounced. Who are you really praising when you say Israel? Strong's Dictionary on the origin of the name Israel. Genesis 32:28. And he said, Thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel, for as a prince thou hast power with God and with men, and hast prevailed.
All right, everybody. My name is Brother Push, and I want to thank you for listening to the conversation that we're going to bring before you. This lesson is going to talk about how Israel, in our studies, is a name that has been put upon us. It's a name that, as we start to research and study, does not fit the characteristics that it claims, that it's a people and a nation. So we're going to take a look at the first bit of evidence that show that there is issues with the name Israel. So we're going to look at Genesis 32:28. And it says, And he said, Thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. And if you look to the right, there's some numbers there, and it says H3478. So inside of the Strongs, you can look that numbers up right there, and you can find what that means. So as we read right below, we're going to remember H3478 and continue to read underneath. It says, For as a prince how thou powered with God and with men, and hast prevailed. So we're going to go back up and look where Israel is highlighted. It says H3478. So if you look to the right, you will see that we've brought that up from the Strong's dictionary. And inside of it, it says Yisrael. And right below, it says from H8280 and H410. And it says he will rule as God. So if you look back where it says from, as we start to investigate inside of the Strongs, when you see something that says from and it's not the primitive word, like the primitive word, it kind of makes you wonder, okay, well, where's the origin? So H8280 shows us where Israel come from. So if you go to the right further, it says at the top H8280, which is Hebrew, H8280, and to a word down below that says Sora. I know it looks like the word Sarah, but it's 2 words, Sa and Ra, as you can see below. And in the definition part, it says a primitive root. A primitive root. That right there is the beginnings, the first. When it's primitive, that means it's before anything else. And in its definition of Sora, it says to prevail, have power as a prince. And when you go and you look back at Genesis, where Israel is, where it's given its definition, it says, For as a prince hast thou power with God, men, and hast prevailed. And there are some words that are the same in the Sora side. On the H8280, it has prevailed, has power as a prince. Those words all exist underneath Israel. But when you look at the definition of Israel on the left of Sora, it says he will rule as God. So our question became, why does Israel have the definition of Sora? And we had never heard of Sora before either. So that made us want to further investigate. Well, if Sora is the prime root, the beginning before Israel, let's figure out, what is this name Sora? Is that a people? Why is Israel name covering the meaning of Sora? Once again, it says to prevail, have power as a prince on the Sora side. And in the scriptures underneath Israel, it says the exact same thing. It says as a prince, it says has thy power, and it says has prevailed. All three pieces. The Israel side doesn't say prince, it says he will rule as God. So we're going to look further and try to understand, what is Sora.
Origin or etymology of the word Israel. Israel, Old English Israel, the Jewish people, the Hebrew nation, from Latin Israel, from Greek, from Hebrew Yasriel, he that striveth with God. Symbolic proper name conferred on Jacob and extended to his descendants. From Sarah, he fought, contended, plus El God, as the name of the independent Jewish state in the Middle East. It is attested from 1948.
So we want to look at this right quick. It says right here, Old English Israel, the Jewish people, the Hebrew nation. It says from Latin Israel, from Greek, from Hebrew, from Isra'EL. If you notice where it says Isra'el, there is a semicolon at the top. So that's separated. We're going to come back and try to understand why you see that separated, like Yisra, and then it's El. We're going to look at that right there. But there it goes again. He strives with God. That's what Israel means. But it also says below, extended to his descendants from Sora. So there's that Sora name again. And I'm trying to understand, okay, who is Sora? If this is the prime root name, why isn't this name touted over Israel? Why is Israel the name over Sora if Sora is the older name? So this has us really wanting to find out again, who is Sora? So right here we show a map of Israel, because we had to go and do some research, and we found some interesting maps out there that actually shows Sora itself. So we had to compare the two. So we showed where Israel is, and how we view it today. And then we find 1767 Bowen's map, where you see the word Sora. So that had some interest inside of our studies, because we're like, okay, the Strong's Concord is saying that Sora is the primitive root. And when we are looking, we didn't know that there was a place called Sora. And this map shows, and if you look at this map on the right, it says the king and kingdom of Sora. This is West Africa. And if you can know the size of West Africa, you can pretty much fit the United States and China all in it. And if you look at what Israel is over here to the left, that's a pretty small piece of land that's covering the name Sora. So we're going to look further for more information into Sora now. So we decided to look deeper, and we found another map of Israel to try to really understand this right here. because inside of the Bible, Jacob is being called Israel, but underneath the definition belongs to Sora. And it says in the Strong that Israel comes from the name Sora. So I'm looking at Israel right now, which it says has become a nation as of 1948. And I'm now comparing it with another map of Sora that we found. And if you can see, it says Le Sora, or Desert of the Barbary, but you see the name Sara, Sara. The Sora of their people has land that is bigger than Israel. It's on a map. It's huge compared to what you're looking at in Israel. And it has a map that is coming from the 1700s. So we're looking at Israel that became a nation as of 1948, and we're trying to understand, okay, how does Israel's name surpass a nation, or at least on a map? How does Israel become over that name? So we had to do more study.
What does mainstream archaeology say? According to PBS.org, there is only one reference that has been found containing the name Israel. Tell us more about the Meneptah inscription. Why is it so famous? It's the earliest reference we have to the Israelites. The Victoria Stela of Pharaoh Meneptah, the son of Ramesses II, mentions a list of people and city-states in Canaan. Among them are the Israelites. And it's interesting that the other entities, the other ethnic groups, are described as nascent states. But the Israelites are described as a people. They have not yet reached a level of state organization.
So they're saying right here that this Meneptah is the oldest writing with the name Israel on it. And I am seriously questioning that, because, again, the name Sora is primitive to Israel. So I'm trying to figure out, what is Sora if it's prime root to Israel? How is Israel's name being touted in the world when there's a name before Israel? As it says right here, if the Strong Dictionary tells us the earliest form of Israel is Sora, how could they ever find the name Israel?
Why are we not taught the truth about the people? John D. Rockefeller, Sr. quote, "In our dreams, people yield themselves with perfect docility to our molding hands. The present education convictions of intellectual and character education fade from their minds, and unhampered by tradition, we work our own goodwill upon a great and responsive folk. We shall not try to make these people, or any of their children, into philosophers or men of science. We have not to raise up from them authors, educators, poets, or men of letters. We shall not search for great artists, painters, musicians, nor lawyers, doctors, preachers, politicians, statesmen, of whom we have ample supply. The task is simple. We will organize children and teach them in a perfect way the things their fathers and mothers are doing in an imperfect way."
So what this is telling you is the information that we are given is created by a higher source. We do not write the Bible. We do not print the Bible. But we are given the Bible, and we are given the names in the Bible. And these people are the ones who tout the name Israel. But when you go and you look into the facts of Israel and you break it down through the Strongs, and you see where Israel come from, you don't see no Rockefeller telling you Sora. Why do they want the whole world to recognize this name Israel when there's another name much older called Sora that is on a bigger piece of land than what Israel is? This is what makes us ask more questions. We don't know anything because someone has already plotted to make sure that we don't have philosophers. They are already plotted to make sure we don't have educators. And I mean us as black people, but I believe this comment right here, this quote, is meant for all people who is of the Western world. We don't know where anything come from. So what we're getting ready to show is where the name Israel come from.
But how do we truly know Sora is a people?
So as we start to search and focused on the name Sora, because it's the primitive root name that we found inside of the Strongs, we asked ourselves, well, if Sora is really a nation like how we saw it on the map, it should have some waterways or things of that nature, land named after it that shows that it exists. So we looked around very, very hard, and we found waterways and familiar places that are named after Sora. That is this same Sora that we showed you in the map of the Boeing map of the 1700s. So if you look over here, we see the name Lake Sora. And this lake right here is in Illinois. We have another lake below. This is Sora Bayou. This is in Louisiana. We have also another waterway. If you notice, they're all waterways that we're showing. And we're going to bring this all together to prove that these Soras from Illinois to Sora Bayou, Louisiana to Saramacca River, which is in, I believe it's Brazil. This name Sora is all over the world. And we have found it in other places. Inside of the Philippines, there is the name Sora. And if you look below, where it's highlighted Negro, right underneath it, it shows you Negro. So the name Sora is scattering from America to South America, all the way over to Africa, all the way over to the Philippines. And that word Negro down below lets you know that they're black. Everybody's black at this time right here. You can find if a people is real when there's water named after them. So right here, we show that Congress knows who Sora is. So this book right here is the Library of Congress subject headings. You can actually go and look up this name Sora. We're going to take a look just at some small parts right here. If we look to the far left, you can see that it says SAR and then African people. And then right underneath it said use Sora, African people. This is the same Sora that is being spoken of inside of the map that we shown. If we start to go down, you start to see Hebrew. So how do you know that Israel was the Hebrew when it's saying right here in Congress heading that Sora is the Hebrew word? But we'll go further down and you start to see various Bahrain, which is Sora. You go down to the Sora Mountains, which is Macedonia and Serbia. You can clearly see it highlighted Sora Mountains. As you go scrolling down further, you see Sora highlighted Lake Illinois. So Congress recognized this same Sora that's being recognized on that map we showed you as Lake Illinois as the same Sora that's on the map. And if you go down further, it says right here Sora African people, and then it gives you more names, Nagai, The Sora name is all over the place. If you look to the right further, Sora Mountains, this name is everywhere. And if you look even further to the right, you see Sora scenes, which is mentioned inside of the Bible. This research that we found, it proved that Sora is a people. This is the same Sora that is primitive root in the Strongs that the name Israel is covering. So we're trying to understand, okay, we done found a map that says Sora, we done found waterways that says Sora, we done found Congress recognizing Sora to the point that Lake Sora, Illinois is being recognized. Sora is a people. It's a people. Primitive. All the African nations, all the way to the Americas, it's a people. Now the question is Israel a people? Let's find proof on Israel.
Origin or etymology of the word Israel. Israel, Old English Israel, the Jewish people, the Hebrew nation. From Latin Israel, from Greek, from Hebrew Yasreel, he that striveth with God. Symbolic, proper name conferred on Jacob and extended to his descendants from Sora. He fought, contended, plus El, God. As the name of the independent Jewish state in the Middle East, it is attested from 1948.
So I showed this earlier, and I came back here to make a further point because I wanted you to see something. You see where it says Yisri or Yisrael, like at the bottom. You see that hyphen there, that semicolon. The word is two words. It's like saying El Yisrael or Yisrael El or Yisra-El. But as you can see, the word Sora comes from this word Yisrael, or Yisrael is the name that is being put over the name Sora, and it's being recognized in the etymology. But what we're focusing on is why is the word Yisrael separated. So this next piece is going to explain why you see that separated.
The correct reading of the name Israel. Fact number 1. That etymology and Strong's show the name is a combination of two words. Isra plus El. Fact number 2. Ancient languages were read right to left.
So right here, we wanted to show, because they say Israel is Hebrew writing. So we're saying that the word Israel is two words. It's actually Isra space El. And you read it from right to left, like you would say El Isra. We as Americans and Westerns, we say the word wrong because that's how they teach our ministers to speak. That's how they had their publishers write it and give it to us. So if you look over here, it says ancient language, we read right to left. There are 12 languages that are written from right to left. And as you can see, Arabic, Azuri, Fula, Persian, and if you get over there, Hebrew. So, the Israelites say that they're Hebrew. So those writings are from right to left. And if you look and see, it says the World Atlas. So this is where you can find that information.
Fact number 3. El represents Al.
So right here, we wanted to start with the word El. Because the word Israel, we're saying that it's two words. And it goes from right to left. So we want to find out what the meaning of El is. So we went to the online etymology, and it reads, it says actually Al, and it says suffix forming adjectives from nouns or other adjectives of, like, related to, pertaining to, Middle English, al, el, from French or directly from Latin. And what this is saying is that al and el are alike or related to or pertaining to. Al and el is the same words. They're just different vowels. Like if you think of your vowels, A, E, I, O, U. So after A comes the E. So al and el is the same word. That's through the online etymology dictionary.
Fact number 4. Historically, L represents Al.
So right here, in order to understand the word el and al and how it's used, we had to jump out of the Bible and go over to the Quran, because they predominantly use the word al inside of their writings and even in their normal speech. So this book right here is called The Quran, Misinterpreted, Mistranslated, and Misread. And you can see where we get this book from right here. You can check it out. It's easy to obtain. But it says right here on page 117, I want y'all to look at this. It says, the Quran also preserved the Semitic word El, or Al, meaning God. So the word El and Al means God or Lord. They both mean the same word. If you look, it says such as Arab, and then right next to it where it's highlighted, you see where it says Isra space El, because that's two words. That's not one word. That's two words. So that's El Isra, or the God Isra. And as you see, it says the trace of God. And then if you see right below, it says Ishmael, and we'll be like, that says Ishmael, when really the word is two words. It's not Ishmael, it's Isma-el. From right to left, you're going to read El as Lord Isma. As you read further over, it says Allah, Allah, I-E-L, the God. So you see the owl always being God right there. It says, or owl, the God, singular. Basically, El and Al are the same words. And if you read a little further, it says El Aloho, and then it says Arabic letters A and E are distinguished by the use of the vowel sound. So the A and E, A-E-I-O-U. So Al and El is the same word. They both mean Lord or God.
Fact number 5. The correct way to read this name is El plus Isra, not Israel.
So if you look what we're showing right here, the word El means God, and if we're switch it around so you can see it in English terms, it would be like El Isra, or God Isra, not Israel. That, remember, that's two words right there. And below it, we're showing if Al is older than El, then we should make further corrections to the name, which would be Al Isra. So once we realized that Al and El was the same word, we had to go back further and correct it. And then we got Al Isra, or Lord God Isra. And if you type in your Google tab, you will see actually Al Isra pop up. And if you click on that, it's going to show you, it's going to take you right back to Israel, or the word Israeli. And it's going to let you know that all of this is relevant to each other. But Israel, it's two words, and we're reading it backwards. It's El Isra, or Al Isra. And Al means Lord God. So we're getting ready to find out, what does Isra mean?
So now that we know the origin, the people, and how to read the name, what is the meaning of Israel? El Isra, Al Isra, and Lord Isra.
So right here, this book right here, the Sainthood and Revelatory Discourse, This book right here helps explain what the word Isra means. So we know that Al means Lord. Now we need to figure out what does Isra mean so we can put this all together. Now that we're learning that Israel is two words, it's not Israel, it's Isra'el or Isra'el or Lord Isra. We need to figure out what does Isra mean, because we all know that El and Al means Lord or God. So now this part right here on page 346 is going to explain what is Isra. So we're going to start at the top. It says prophet's nocturnal journey, Isra. So Isra means prophet's nocturnal journey. If you say Isra, according to this book, Isra means a prophet's nighttime journey, like someone traveled during the night. And it says an ascension or mirage. It says Sora, here's this word al Isra. Instead of saying Isra'el or Isra'el or Isra'el, even in the Muslim book, they're saying that it's al Isra. And it says 1 and Sora and Najam 1 through 8 are said to be the source of the traditions of the prophets Isra. That word Isra, the source of the prophets' nocturnal journey, nighttime journey, and mirage, ascension. And then it goes further and says some Muslims favor the view that Muhammad actually journeyed in body while many believe that his journeys were Khayali. Let me get my stuff right because I don't speak that language. But it says further, First Knapper indicates how these concepts greatly amplified Surah al-Isra, the Lord's Isra, the Lord's journey. Al means Lord, God, Isra means nighttime journey. And it's saying that Muhammad went on the nighttime journey. The Al, the God, the Lord, it's saying that that person is Muhammad and went on a nighttime journey. Right here, if you go further, it says, in giving a background to these concepts, Knapper's notes 3 different ways in which Surah, the nighttime journey, and Mirage, the ascension, have been understood. It says, firstly, the oldest tradition source takes Isra, the nighttime journey, to simply mean the prophet's mirage or ascension to the heavenly Kaaba. It says, secondly, during the Umayyad period, perhaps on the account of the need to establish the sacredness of Jerusalem, the term Isra, nighttime journey, was referred to as the horizontal nocturnal journey of the prophet from Mecca to the furthest mosque in Jerusalem. So the word Isra means a nighttime journey from Mecca to Jerusalem. So when you take the word Al and you connect that to there, the Lord's nighttime journey from Mecca to Jerusalem, where the Arabs are saying that Muhammad went on the nighttime journey from Mecca to Jerusalem, and while going, he had ascended or had some type of vision on his way there during the night. Israel is not a people. The word Israel is said backwards. It's Isra'el or Isra'el, and if you correct it, al-Isra, it means the Lord's nocturnal journey. That is not a people. That is someone who follows someone.
Who is the Lord God who journeyed from Mecca to Jerusalem? Muhammad.
So just to recap this, the main fact is El and Al means Lord or God. The word Isra means nocturnal journey or a nighttime journey. And when we combine these two words together, we get the Lord or God's nocturnal journey from Mecca to Jerusalem. There is no people of Israel. We are all calling ourselves a journey that Muhammad had went on. And I will have respect for you if you traveled from Mecca to Jerusalem during the nighttime. And, I would say, well, he's a follower of Muhammad because he followed behind Muhammad. But that's not children. That's not someone birthed into the world. And what Political Puff is here to do is to prove out the facts. There is no people of Israel, but there is a people called Sora that is not being acknowledged. I'm putting it out there. Y'all have to research it. To end this off, these are the people that has set things up to the point where we are using the name Israel and calling it a people. These people, Rockefellers, these people who created the world we live in, has written the name Israel and has placed it upon us, has made a nation as of 1948. The name Sora is older, even by map. It's older. It is the original name. This name Israel is Muhammad's journey. It's Al Isra, El Isra, not Israel. It's backwards. And these nut jobs, these people has got us reading words backwards, got the whole country reading it backwards and calling themselves this. You cannot save a nation that isn't a nation. It just became one as of 1948. But Sora has been there for a while and it's hidden.